If you've ever spent a weekend building a high-end gaming rig only to have the whole thing shut down when you plug in a new peripheral, you know how frustrating that feels. The pictures on the product page make everything look sleek and powerful, but the moment you fire it up in your own setup, the reality can be a lot less impressive. That's why I'm doing this deep dive into the CyberPower OL2200RTXL2U Smart App online UPS system. My goal is to help you avoid the pain of buying a UPS that looks great online but turns out to be a costly misfit for a gaming PC. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the type of gamer who actually needs a UPS of this size. If your rig runs a 1800-watt power supply, you've probably already invested in a good quality case, a solid-state drive array, and a multi-monitor setup. When you lose power, you're not just looking at a brief flicker, you risk corrupting save files, losing progress in a competitive match, or even damaging delicate components from sudden voltage spikes. A 2200VA 1800W UPS like this one is designed for that heavy load, and it brings a few practical benefits that show up in everyday use. One of the first things I noticed when I set it up was the outlet layout. There are 6 NEMA 520R and 1 NEMA 520R receptacles, which means you can plug in a standard PC power cable, a monitor, a router, and even a high-end external GPU enclosure without needing a separate power strip. For a typical gamer's desk, those extra sockets reduce cable clutter and keep everything within arm's reach. The L520R outlet is especially handy if you have a workstation that uses a locking plug, say, a professional audio interface that you'd rather not unplug each time you power down. The Smart App integration is the next feature that can really make a difference. CyberPower's Power Panel app lets you monitor battery charge, load levels, and estimated runtime from your phone or laptop. In my tests, the app responded quickly and gave clear alerts when the UPS entered battery mode. For a gamer who streams, you can set it up to automatically start a recording shutdown script if the power dips below a certain threshold, protecting both your stream and your hardware. The convenience factor here is not just novelty, it's a real safety net when you're in the middle of a raid or a live broadcast. Fast charge technology is another claim that seems like marketing fluff until you see it in action. With this UPS, you can recharge the battery to 80% in roughly 30 minutes after a brief outage. That means if you have a short power blip and the UPS kicks in, you don't have to wait hours to be fully protected again. In a house where the circuit breaker tends to trip during peak usage, that quick turnaround can keep your system running through the night without forcing you to live without power for an extended period. Now, let's address the trade-offs. The unit is a 2U rack mount model, which makes it perfect for a server rack or a compact home setup with a rack shelf, but it does require a decent amount of space compared to a small desktop UPS. If you're working with a tight desk footprint and no rack, you'll need to allocate a shelf or a dedicated spot for the unit. It also weighs over 55 pounds, so moving it isn't a quick job. For a gamer who already has a cluttered desk, you have to decide whether the extra security is worth the space and handling hassle. Battery life is another practical point. The advertised runtime at full load is around 3 to 4 minutes, which aligns with most online UPS specs. That's enough time to save your game, shut down the PC cleanly, or keep a few minutes of streaming on the buffer. It won't keep you playing through an extended outage, but it isn't meant to be a generator. The key is understanding that the value comes from protecting data and hardware, not from providing power for a full gaming session. Who should definitely consider this unit? If you run a high-performance rig with multiple GPUs, a demanding CPU, and a slew of peripherals, especially if you use a professional-grade power supply that draws close to the UPS's 1800W rating, the OL2200RTXL2U gives you a reliable safety net. It's also a solid match for content creators who need uninterrupted power while editing or streaming, and for small business owners who host a server or a NAS in the same rack. The 3-year warranty that covers the batteries is a nice reassurance. Most cheaper UPS units only cover the chassis. On the flip side, if you have a modest gaming PC, say, a 500W or 650W system with a single monitor and a few USB accessories, you'll likely be overpaying for capacity you'll never fully use. In that scenario, a smaller, desktop-type UPS with a 600800 VA rating would handle your needs just as well, save you space, and cost less. Likewise, if you're not